Flat drop, world beyond the pole. No forest on this flat earth. Let's get it, part 9. We have been vibrating for 8 parts. But if you notice, we talk about so much, in between. So I don't mind continuing on in this direction because it seems just like a great energy spurt, to see how this ties right back home to our trees, back to our actual indigenous lands, our actual vibration that is undeniable. Chapter 5, Worlds Beyond the Pole, Stratosphere, Revelations. Things are not what they seem. The Pilgrim of 1928 was aware that land discovered beyond the South Pole confirmed only one aspect of physical continuity. He knew that there would have to be photographic confirmation of his disclosure concerning terrestrial skylight and the deceptively globular and isolated appearance of outer sky areas. Only through such proof could he hope to establish the illusory nature of astronomical conclusions dealing with celestial areas. Hence, his pilgrimage was directed towards procuring the required photographic proof through a stratosphere ascent, which would permit photographing an area of the Earth's luminous outer sky surface from stratosphere darkness. Though there had never been a record of terrestrial skylight, he knew the condition would be confirmed if it was possible for him to ascend into the stratosphere. The lens deceptions contingent upon telescopic observation and photography of luminous celestial areas was most clear to him, but duty to his cause seemed to demand that he spare no effort to show the comparisons at terrestrial level so that others might comprehend the illusions. Therefore, from 1929 unto 1935, he sought means whereby he might ascend unto the stratosphere. And during the period, he recorded the conditions of light and their movements, which produced illusion in the workaday world at terrestrial level. He relentlessly pursued the mathematical contradictions of theory, which had over a period of 400 years made an incomprehensible patchwork of the universe about us. Though the abstract mathematical values were understandingly applicable in the 15th century, when only the abstract could apply in an interpretation of cosmic values, they loomed as poor makeshift in the light of modern research and discovery. For nights without number, he patiently observed the brilliant but deceptive beacons of the celestial sky from vantage points on the desert sand and from lofty mountain ledges. In such application, he was able to compare the movements of lights observed at every angle on terrestrial level with the seeming movement of lights at the celestial level, and he discerned the synonymity of illusions developed from light manifestations at both levels. The simplest observations held a meaning most profound, and he who dutifully sought the meaning watched and recorded the apparent movement or twinkling of stationary streetlights in Oakland, California. Yay area. Alright. That observation was made from the deck of the ferry plying the 7 miles of water from San Francisco to Oakland. Alright, so this is right in a lot of our backyard. Such simple observation proved that the streetlight seeing motion was attributable to the motion of water between his sensitive optic lenses and the lights of Oakland. So I'll get that again. Such simple observations prove that the streetlight's seeming motion was attributable to the motion of water between his sensitive optic lenses and the lights of Oakland. And look, we are not, professional readers. We're just trying to kick the drop. So deal with it, man. We're doing our best. I'm not that smart. I told you that, but I got a book. It's open for you. For those that are not able to read, one gentleman sent me a great comment. He said, hey, thank you for reading this book because I lost my sight and I've been wanting to read this book. You know what I mean? So that just made it all worthwhile right there. That, I'm saying, this brother was able to get some of this drop, man. So sorry, I'm saying that, hey, ain't no Einsteins over here, but that's what makes it so dope is that we're not Einsteins. So why do we have to drop? It must be a higher vibration we're on. You know what I'm saying? It's not anybody's intellect we're talking about. You know what I'm saying? So, y'all can make fun of me. I don't care. Let's just go. World beyond the poles. Let's go. And it was thereby discerned that known and unknown conditions existing between a telescope lens and luminous gaseous sky areas of the celestial produce the same illusion of motion. All right, so let's get focused. And it was thereby discerned that known and unknown conditions existing between a telescope lens and luminous gaseous sky areas of the celestial produce the same illusion of motion. So there's an illusion of motion, an illusion of the globular, lens, defect, you know what I'm saying? So through these defected, illusions of this isolation, of this curvature, of all these things that our lens, our lenses are giving us, all this, deception, built into your actual framework. So when you're looking out, you're looking into the framework of deception. When you wake up, you're in the framework of deception. You don't know how deep it goes, but if they control your habitat, they control your orient. If you feel you're from another area of the world, or you think that you're spinning at 1100 miles per hour when they never shown you the earth spinning, but they told you, and you say, well, why would they lie to me? I'm a nice person. I'm a nice guy. Why would they do this? Well, you got to see the big picture. It's control. You don't tell a slave their habitat. Would you tell your slave their habitat? Would you give them the real map? So why would they give it to you? He never tired of experimenting right here with the play of electricity and the filament of light bulbs at every size and variety. He observed the light's motion from every angle and under every condition, and such enterprise afforded proof of the influence all light exerts on the optic lens and every other lens, for all of which the human lens has provided the pattern. Observation of the light distortions resulting from the magnification of light at various distances provided foundation for understanding of the observational error, leading to the absurd astronomical conclusion of planetary rings. His perception reduced the so-called celestial rings to unreal whirling companions of correspondingly unreal astro-mathematical globular entities assumed to constitute the universe. I mean, y'all got to give it up for someone, who's not Einstein. That's a big ass word. Astro-mathematical globular entities. All right. I mean, you got to give your boy a soul clap for that one. His perception reduced the so-called celestial rings to unreal, whirling companions of correspondingly unreal. I know they use a lot of big words, but here's the biggest word: unreal. That means fake. That means illusion. Astro-mathematical globular, that's just one piece of shit. That's why astro-mathematical globular entities assumed. Here's the biggest words: unreal and assumed, to constitute the universe. All right, so stay focused. His persistent application and study of the most humble but realistic manifestations at terrestrial level brought discernment of the complete lack of meaning in seeming manifestations at celestial level. The astronomically prescribed celestial features of puff and smokes in a barrel, double-starred galaxies, etc., were reduced to simpler but realistic values of cosmic expression adequately described in following pages. The uninvolved play of searchlights on a darkened sky or other dark area proved the inability of the lens to record any area faithfully, as the searchlight disclosed that it was compelled to reproduce its circular lens outline on formations of every nature other than globular. It was made manifest that areas not globular in reality were made deceptively globular by the lens. So because you're looking at this out of these bubble lenses, out your telescopes and all these bubble lenses, and they're looking into the dark stratosphere, that they can't pick up the land masses, they can only pick up the lights from the atmosphere, from the luminous atmosphere of these sky areas. And you're just getting a reflection of the lenses the same way you'll get a reflection of a searchlight in darkness. Everything's round, right? Everything's circular, because it's the same way as the lens that you're, looking through. So if you're looking through a searchlight, it will be circular the same way the searchlight is circular when it hits the wall. Except you're looking through it now, so now you got a bunch of balls everywhere. It was made manifest that areas not globular in reality were made deceptively globular by the lens. The distorting influence of mist and fog on luminous areas and objects of the land and the waters contributed to the elaborate ritual of the years, and to the study of such influence at work brought confirmation of physical continuity before the first photograph of terrestrial skylight distortion existed. And that single feature materially contributed to the premise that the universe is astronomically assumed to be can never exist. I'll read it again, at that single feature materially contributed. And that single feature materially contributed. So that's really the key thing. I'm just trying to key in on it. Materially, right? So that single feature materially contributed to the premise that the universe as astronomically assumed to be can never exist. It's always an astronomical assumption. These people are astronomically incorrect. They are astronomically wrong with their astronomical assumptions. It was found that halos and rings and spheroidal intruders of reality's magnificent scene are found wherever and whenever one seeks them under conditions making for their elusive development. In consideration of the ease with which they are promiscuously manufactured, there is little wonder that they are observed in telescopic observations of the celestial. He diligently watched and studied the movements of airplane lights reflected against the darkened sky and against the background of other lights in nearby hills and distant mountains, and he was permitted to discern the gross deception the moving airplane lights would impose on the immature mind of some native from an undeveloped region of our civilization. Such a native lacking knowledge of the altitudinal relation of hills, mountains, and the moving airplane lights and their relation to other lights in the hills and mountains and of the celestial sky would be unmistakably awed by the indefinite spectacle. It was found reasonable to conclude the natives' ignorance of the placement and purpose of the various lights in relation to those of the unknown airplane in motion would permit no other determination than that the moving airplane lights represented some fearful unknown entity or condition of the so-called heavens above. All right? Think about that. Will permit no other determination than the moving airplane lights represent some fearful unknown entity. So they've made us fearful in all these alien movies and all this stuff that they put, all these space movies. Fearful unknown is pretty much a big portion of Hollywood. The fearful unknown entity or condition of the so-called heavens above, which is really everywhere. Though familiarity with moving airplane lights at night enables the more enlightened to comprehend realistic values of the lights and their movement, they are nevertheless as readily confused by corresponding light movements and light distortions developed at their immediate terrestrial level. Hence, it may be understood that their measure of deception for the average person is multiplied by the seeming movement of known and unknown lights at celestial level. Early experimentation established that illusion can readily be fostered in the most astute minds through land surface observations of the land aura, which, under conditions favorable to its development, enshrouds an airplane's light as well as the plane and produces the illusion of luminous disk moving through the night sky. Inasmuch as the saucer is a disk, the illusion of flying saucers is imposed. It was also proved that haze, fog, clouds, and angles of observations contribute to the foregoing and numerous other illusions. It was further established that even on a very clear night, the illusions of an airplane in motion present nothing but a flying saucer. If they are observed through a translucent window glass, the same illusionary developments were found to apply to a bright arc light at the negligible distance of 50 feet from the observing lens as they apply to the moon at its estimated distance of about 335,000 miles. And as distance lens enchantment, the illusion determinable as such at 50 feet is without question accepted as celestial reality when advanced by an astronomical conclusion which holds no possible hope of determination. Though the disguise and projected illusions of lights in luminous areas can be ably penetrated at a distance of 50 feet on terrestrial level, they do nevertheless impose temporary deception until investigative determination of their realistic value is had. Hence, consider the enlargement of deception from the same disguise at distances prohibiting a determination of values. Observation of the unpretentious flame of an ordinary match eloquently affirm principles of lens function and deceptions resulting therefrom. Experimentation established that the perpendicular flame of a lighted match in the darkness is automatically distorted by the camera lens, which in night photograph caused the flame to be reduced as a horizontal line. The situation developed in photograph from an airplane at an altitude of only 2 miles. It was thereby perceived that reducing the perpendicular flame to a flameless horizon line constitutes primary expression of all lens convergence. An increase of photographing altitude developed the secondary expression in lens function, producing the curve as previously related. The camera lens curved the same horizontal line up at both ends in the beginning of an arc. On complete lens convergence achieved at greater photographing altitude, the match presented the photographic appearance of a luminous disk. The qualification should be made for readers who are unfamiliar with the fact that light is always photographed as white. Hence, though it was known that the white disk represented a luminous disk, the photographed area in a black and white photograph was white. Alright, so the photographed area was white. Even in a black and white photograph, still the photographed area was white. Remember that. This simple match experiment was not considered too simple or unimportant for the United States Armed Corps application of many hours. Therefore, consider what the lens is capable of doing to a straight line and how it can make globular and isolated luminous sky areas that are not globular or isolated. Then it may be possible to reconcile the illusions developing from observation of the celestial with the 2,000-year-old dictum. With eyes ye see, with eyes you see not, yet believe what ye see not. With eyes ye see not, yet believe what ye see not. That parable too merits repetition on every page of this book. Its meaning may be generally understood after 2,000 years. It was found on another occasion that the match flame would, through optic lens function, develop an aura of greenish red light when held in one's hand and viewed through mildly watering eyes. In other words, there would be formed by the optic lens detected the flame through a moisture film, a luminous and colorful circle which seemed to envelope the flame. That illusion in observing a known light not more than 6 or 8 inches from the detecting optic lens, and at a time when the least additional moisture between the lens and its object exerted such influence on the optic lens which distorted the object, holds very definite relation to telescopic lens detection of luminous celestial sky areas. Telescopic detection of luminous celestial areas must be had at tremendous distance and through numerous distorting and obscuring media. All right. In some celestial skylight areas, those media become at times much more powerful agents of the illusionary than the eye moisture between an optic lens and a known luminous area close at hand. Though there need not prevail at celestial level a corresponding volume of moisture influencing illusionary lens creations seen in the lighted match aura, there is unmistakably radiation from the gaseous content on all observed luminous celestial areas. The influence of such radiation between the detecting telescopic lens and the luminous sky celestial area, in conjunction with other conditions of the stratosphere, can be expected to develop corresponding match flame illusion of one and even more luminous circles. Such circles, or so-called satellites, can then deceptively appear to be circling around the observed luminous celestial area. So this is like one big optical illusion, and I know it's hard to accept because you've accepted another reality. So it's going to be up to you to, really get outside of this framework. At this point, it should be explained that it is not only the distorting influence of media through which light is observed and the function of light itself at the point of observation which contribute to production of the illusionary. There exists beyond such factors the illusion which the observed light exerts on the detecting lens. There is expressed the value of the more you look, the less you see. Too much looking distorts color. Too intent observation of the light in luminous areas produces the distortion of light, shadows, or shading. Continued observation of too intense light causes the luminous area to become black. Continued observation of too intense light causes the luminous area to become black. Let there be light. Yet the world of illusion is cluttered with light emanations. The sun becomes a positive bevy of multicolored globes when observed at the angle proper for their development. And in the multiple globes, there are multiple smaller globular patterns. The universe of illusion has no end of globes and spheres and whirling globular bodies, though none exist in fact. So he's saying right here, man, you take the sun and it becomes, a positive bevy of multicolored globes when observed at the angle proper, at the proper angle, and the multiple globes have more little globes and patterns because the universe of illusion has no end of globe spheres and whirling globular bodies, though none exist in fact. None exist in fact. I mean, you're going to have to dig on it. The terrestrial parallel of heat radiation's power to distort luminous areas and objects was found in observation of a series of wall lights that were clear glass electric light bulbs. They extended at intervals of 10 feet along the interior wall of a room 100 feet in length. The room was heated from open ventilation of the opposite wall 10 feet away. From a position on the ventilator side of the room, observation was made of the electric lights at the further end of the room, 50 to 100 feet away. Hence, the heat waves from the open ventilators were between the observing sensitive optic nerves, and the electric lights. The motion of the heat waves, though not detected by the optic lens, produced the optic illusion that every light was flickering or twinkling, a shift of position to the opposite side of the room, where the light were seen without heat wave interference, at once permitted observation of the realistic unflickering lights, thereby proving the illusion. So, however you got to dig on it, there's a bunch of ways he's breaking down how they did the experimentation. For the repeatable and observable science to see the illusion of how they have us spinning on a ball and what they taught us and how they put the inception and how these things are just, you know what I'm saying, you know, light patterns and globular little bodies and spectacles, you know what I'm saying, but they're not telling you what's really on the other side. So they can keep funding their billion and trillion dollar budgets to say they're going all these places, and they say they're going to the moon, but they ain't been back in 60 years? We should be having moon dances and parties all the time, but I mean, that was a big deal, right? Apollo 1 through 18 or something. But now we can't even talk about the moon. Now it's just taboo to even talk about going to the moon. Antarctica was a big deal. Now it's taboo to even talk about going to Antarctica. So what reality are you living in? What illusion are you living in? Therefore, thereby proving the illusion. It is significant to note that this illusionary condition was found to develop when the heat waves lacked sufficient force and volume to be seen by the optic lens. The radiation exerted its illusionary action, though it was not seen as a barrier to and distorter of light observation. Earlier, a counterpart of heat waves' influence was shown in the influence of water motion on the sensitive optic nerves as the optic lens detected street lights in Oakland. Yee! Under such conditions of observation, the larger and more luminous streetlights were subjected to corresponding influence, and they afforded the same illusionary performance. However, it is pertinent to record that the streetlights' movement was more pronounced at a distance of 5 to 7 miles than the illusionary movement of electric lights at distances from 50 to 100 feet. There's a lesson here of greater illusionary movement with an increase of distance from observed luminous area. It has considerable to do with the Galilean premise of illusion, rounded bodies circling and ellipsing in space. Consideration of astronomical distances, astronomical assumptions, right? Distances should bring understanding of physical continuity, and it should assist one to know that movement may be had from the terrestrial poles into the universe about us. As this is written, a tiny voice seems to bring an astronomer's expostulations, right, that no such deceptions can be imposed upon the magnificent lens of astronomy's workshop, and it contends that the greater power of telescope lenses penetrates the conditions that create the illusionary. Therefore, it should be said that no amount of light magnification can produce greater clarity. The light and the lens seem to represent or resent magnifying. Increased magnification of light and luminous areas develop a greater volume of light distortion. It becomes evident that the brilliant writer of yesteryear, Tiffany Thayer, was cognizant of such a feature when he referred to the 200-inch telescope lens then being perfected as the white elephant of Mount Palomar. Wow. That lens is competent to magnify all the illusions of the centuries. Just know now that the Vatican has a lens. What do they call it? The Vatican's lens is called Lucifer. Look it up. It's the acronym. Lucifer. What are the magnets that is being used for CERN? What do they call their magnets? Their major huge ton magnets. What's that acronym? SATAN. Look it up. Their magnets are Satan. The Pope's telescope is called Lucifer. So what are they staring at? The celestial, right? They're staring and honoring every part of what they do. NASA has that serpent tongue. Everything they do, they honor. Right. Okay, so here we go. That lens is competent to magnify all the illusions of the centuries. Lens magnification of light in luminous areas and the light distortion that ensues is that which produces canyons on the moon and a grotesque array of astronomical entities that never did and never could exist on land or sea or in the universe about us. All right, so that's a quote. Light magnification is the imponderable, which light magnification is the imponderable, man, this guy's crazy, which produces the light shadings in luminous celestial areas. Such light shadings within luminous sky areas are at times heralded as clouds in the stratosphere over the celestial light sky. At other times, they are claimed to be vegetation on the celestial land under the skylight. At this point, it is well to repeat that telescope lenses cannot penetrate celestial skylight. It is true that clouds and vegetation are helpful to human beings. Without the clouds, vegetation might not exist. Hence, one may take one's choice as to what light shadings represent other than light shadings. Though clouds and vegetation exist under the light, which extends throughout the universe such conditions cannot be detected through the luminous sky envelope, and that telescope lens detect is an aspect of the luminous sky. All that the telescope lenses detect is an aspect of the luminous sky. All that telescope lenses detect is an aspect of the luminous sky. These innumerable corresponding truths of experimentation and brain observation have been developed through unremitting effort to refute or to verify the disturbing perceptual portrait of the realistic universe. For that portrait was presented to that early pilgrim, right, as a burdensome and heartbreaking gift from the force, which ordains our individual destinies. Wow. All right, the early pilgrim. This thing, for that portrait was presented to that early pilgrim. So these early pilgrims are the pilgrims that that got this information from the force, this heartbreaking gift, this burden from the force, and they came over and they said, Christ or die, convert or die. And those that decided to convert, they got this heartbreaking gift from the pilgrims, from the force. In case you're confused on what this force does, it says this force which ordains. So we're going back to Pope Diversas 1452, subjugate them, put them in perpetual servitude. Enemies of Christ, convert these enemies of Christ into perpetual servitude. Take this hijack over to their land and say convert or die, because the force persisted in its endowment. We got to get that from the top. For that portrait was presented to that early pilgrim as a burdensome and heartbreaking gift from the force, capital F, which ordains our individual destinies. The gift could not be rejected because the force persisted in its endowment. But is it to be wondered that he who was so endowed made periodic attempts to abandon the gift? The hours he consumed in tedious combining through the centuries accumulated of astro-mathematical data embodying glaring contradictions that resulted from organized endeavor to sustain the postulate of terrestrial isolation constituted a period which could have thrice told the fables of 1,001 Nights' fame, and time would have been left to erect all the unreal mathematical universes that history records. To accomplish a project of such magnitude that it opened the centuries ice block paths to the universe about us, that early pilgrims' elaborate laboratory was generally the uncluttered platform of the desert sands. And his customary astronomical observatory was an unsheltered mountain ledge, but his equipment was superior to the most powerful telescopes of Mount Wilson and Mount Palomar. At that latter, the 200-inch lens, 200-inch lens was then being ground and was that prime to see all and know all. All right, absurdum, absurdum. All right, so we got a little switch. I guess they had to put the pages back in like this. Is the brain that truly sees, and telescope lenses do not have brains. His endowment fund was a flawless extrasensory perception, which had detected more of the realistic universe in 5 minutes than all the telescope lenses of the age could detect. And his loyal organization was his faith against a world of skepticism. In 1932, he met the Belgian stratosphere explorer, Professor Auguste Piccard, at the professor's quarters in the Hotel St. Moritz in New York City. It was there that he viewed the first photographs of the terrestrial outer sky that he had described before any lens had detected it. Piccard's photographs showed a minute area of the Earth's sky as it is to be seen and photographed from within the sky. The photographs had been taken at Piccard's greatest altitude, and that was only on the threshold of the stratosphere. So he only kind of got to the threshold of the stratosphere. Piccard had not achieved sufficient altitude for a photograph against the stratosphere background of total darkness. Hence, the photographic plate showed only the lower sky area through which Piccard had entered. That sky area appeared as an illuminated upturned disk. The corners of that upturned disk were developing a copper tinge representing primary illumination of the immediate sky area. Sorry, this is kind of hard to read, but we're going to get it. It was the color seen on cloud formation as the sun disappears far beyond the western horizon. The illuminative coloring of the upturned or partial disk obscured the outline of the terrain where Piccard's ascent originated. Nothing of the Earth's surface was to be detected by Piccard or by the camera lens in the base of the stratosphere gondola. At that, all that could be seen from the partly luminous partial disk development of the sky area being penetrated. Though Piccard had not achieved sufficient altitude to permit the lens formation of the complete disk with total luminosity, his photographs confirmed lens function and the resulting deceptions as disclosure since 1926. Look this stuff up. See if it's play. If he could have increased his altitude, the partial or upturned disk would have completed by the lens unto a full disk. Both edges of the upturned disk, as shown at the beginning of stratospheric darkness, would have been continually drawn up by the lens until they met. Then the upturned disk would be detected from the stratospheric darkness and from all other areas of the universe as a downturned curved area. When the condition existed, there is presented a complete disk surface, which is known as a disk. We do not speak of down curved areas when they present such formations. They are known as disk-like. The lens completes the circle because the lens is circular. With completion of the circle, the disk area is detected. The lens has done its job. It's all about the lens you see through, right? What lens are you seeing through? Are you seeing through Hea's lens, the lens of existence, of nature, of everything, right? Or are you seeing through your oppressor's lens, a lens that was hijacked and given to you and brainwashed into you at 3 and 4 years old, 2 years old, you know what I'm saying? Then the mind adds the finishing touch, which causes the illusionary circular outline of the sky area to have body property. The fullness of body must exist for the adult mind. Wow. I read it again. The fullness of body. The fullness of body must exist for the adult mind, though there be no such fullness of body in reality. Wow. The appearance of that particular sky area being photographed in 1931 impelled Picard to announce the Earth appeared as an illuminated upturned disk. However, it is self-evident that Picard meant that the photographed sky area appeared as an illuminated upturned disk. The illuminated has application in this instance because there was illumination, but there was no luminosity. There was not sufficient darkness of stratosphere background for luminosity to develop. So the full, you know what I'm saying, twinkling and all that. Though the sky area being photographed from within the sky depth was not luminous, the primary illumination was sufficient to obscure the land surface. Only increased altitude with additional stratosphere darkness would develop luminosity. So they keep going up, that disk will start looking more and more round and become more luminous like any other planet. So it will still look like a planet, although we are fixed and we're not, there's no curvature anywhere, but we've been told that we're a ball, and we're told they look at all these balls, and everyone says, well, how come everything else is a ball? And now you see why, because you're looking through somebody's lens. You're not looking with your own eyes. You've never seen this stuff. So the only eyes you've seen, which is now embedded in your brain, your mind, and by inception, the only image, that globe that was given to you in the classroom, is in your mind. It's all you can see through is the lens of your oppressor, the hijacker. Picard acknowledged in the early descriptive account that he could see nothing of the land surface. A copper-colored cloud enveloped the Earth. Everything's copper-colored, huh? There is no doubt that Picard meant well, but it's kind of blocked out. I want to say the journalist quoting him used an exceedingly misleading choice of words. Say as therein, as something is related. The Earth did not appear as anything because no area of the Earth could be seen or photographed. I guess that's the quote they put. It was not only an infinitesimal area of the Earth's entire sky that provided the appearance of an illuminated upturned disk. The copper-colored cloud was part of the gaseous sky density, which was developing luminosity. Accordingly, the photograph plates displayed by Picard afforded ample evidence that he had not achieved sufficient altitude for lens development of the complete disk. Had Picard gone beyond the outer sky surface and photographed from stratospheric darkness, the complete disk would have been developed by the camera lens, and the dark stratosphere background would have caused the gaseous sky illumination to possess fiery luminosity. The appearance, right? Observe Figure 4 in the next chapter, released to the nation's science editors in 1930. It shows how every area of the Earth's luminous outer sky would appear from sufficient distance in stratospheric darkness and from all celestial land areas. If the luminous disk-like areas were to be drawn into complete circles, the lower half of each would describe the upturned disk of Picard's announcement when viewed from above. Or, if one turns the illustrative upside down, one will see the upturned disk. In viewing any luminous sky area like those shown from the depth of stratosphere darkness and from celestial areas, the half-circle curves are presented as disks. There should be no confusion on that point. The feature could have been established in ancient Babylon if they possessed V2 rockets. Well, who said they didn't? Let's go. Unfortunately, when the luminous disk-like areas are detected at terrestrial or celestial level, the human mind automatically provides body property, which does not exist. In such manner does the realistic universe become infested with isolated globes that do not exist. In such manner does the realistic universe become invaded, with isolated globes that do not exist. Isolated globes that do not exist. The Earth area of the universe whole could not escape the isolated globe infection. So now we're infected with this isolated globe on our Earth. Even though we've just seen pictures and paintings, nothing real. Astronomical dogma decreed that the luminous celestial areas detected were isolated, globular, or spherical bodies adrift in space infinite, and such being the case, the Earth had to be the same. Who could prove it otherwise in 1543 when the theory of astro bubbles was imposed? Copernicus. And look at the timing, 1543. What was happening to you in 1543? My brothers, my sisters. So when you hear your brothers and sisters say, nah, man, that's crazy. It's always been a ball. We always been on a ball of water spinning 1,100 miles per hour, going 67,000 miles. Well, the actual patent that went into this Lutheran churches and Church of Londons and all this stuff that adopted this stuff. 1543, Copernicus. What was happening to you, brother? Your mind was being hijacked. And what did they put? They put a ball of isolated, globular, or spherical bodies adrift in space infinite. The theory of astro bubbles is what you believe in. Astro bubbles was imposed. While we were at it, it might be well to turn to Figure 5, entitled "The United Navy's V-2 Rocket Camera Photographs Dispel the Illusion." The title is most fitting. The photograph shows a luminous outer surface area of the Earth's sky from an altitude of 65 miles. Altitude means distance from the Earth's surface, hence the photograph was taken approximately 55 miles beyond the outer sky area. It might have been a little more than 55 miles because the distance from the land surface, the sky varies at times, and at different places the sky is only 7 miles away. Whoa. The sky is only 7 miles away. At other points, it may be 10 miles. Figure 5 is a reproduction of the original V-2 rocket camera photograph of the small area of the Earth's entire sky. The photograph was not taken on perpendicular, as was the case in Picard's photograph of 1931. Hence, it shows only at an angle the complete disk area, which Picard's perpendicular photography would have shown if he had ascended to the V-2 rocket height. Does this seem like play, or are these people using experimentation, scientific, repeatable, observable science? So when y'all are leaving comments at us saying we crazy, were they crazy? All the funding that was given to them, were they crazy? Looking for land beyond the ice, finding land beyond the ice, recording it in 1927, in 1928, in 1947. Abizaid, that experimentation. These are real people testing the boundaries of the bullshit that they're taught, the indoctrination. You know what I'm saying? You might have a, Navel Valley brother that is so Navel Valley and will talk about, man, you believe in Abraham, man, you are indoctrinated. Like, but they found us here. Yeah, but you've been indoctrinated. But our commandments are right here in stone, going back 2000 BC. Who was here? The copper-colored races. So who do you give credit to this being in stone, 2000 BC? Whatever AD, BC, hijack, before hijack, after hijack. But then they will back up they world spinning and say that they're spinning on a ball, and not understand that they are kicking indoctrination the same way that they'll yell at a Christian for believing in the Bible. You've been indoctrinated. Well, yeah, the Christians been hijacked. Yeah, the religions, they hijacked us. They split our energies apart. But indoctrination goes deep. And you got to remove that plank out of your eye before you, start yelling at your brother about the splinter of indoctrination they may have, and yet you think you're spinning on a ball. You think you're spinning on a ball. You're yelling at somebody for believing in JC or believing in something that you can't a creator that you just can't fathom because you just believe in principalities, man. A little bit of principles of this and principles of that. Nobody got to be responsible to the actual creator of this system that's coming back to bring this thing up to a whole nother level, a whole nother frequency, a whole nother vibration. Don't give any credit to the creator of this vibration, this frequency, this consciousness that you are trapped in, yet you think you're spinning on a ball. You won't get off your ball. You won't stop spinning. You believe in astro bubbles. All right, before I go crazy, the rocket camera would have shown a round disc rather than a foreshortened oval if it had been in the rocket's tail so that it could be photographed on the perpendicular during the rocket's ascent. As the rocket descended, it was drifting at an angle. Hence, all photographs of the outer sky had to be at an angle. Had the rocket avoided drifting and descending in the perpendicular course, it would have shown the full disk area indicated in figures 3 and 4. The original photograph of an area of the Earth's luminous outer sky surface, seemingly globular and isolated, is the most important photograph in the history of the world. It tells more of the realistic universe about us than all the astronomical. Whenever you see astronomical, you know that's just bullshit. So when you hear that, you know we're talking about the illusion. Anything astronomical is astro bubbles. All the astro bubble volumes, astronomical volumes compiled throughout the centuries. It needs only the proper interpretation. And if the terrestrial man is not competent to interpret its meaning at this time, he should be denied acquisition of the universe about us. Woo! I'm talking to you, Negro. This is your classroom. And if terrestrial man, if the Negro is not competent, if my brother, my sister is not competent to interpret its meaning at this time, he or she should be denied acquisition. He or she should be denied acquisition of the universe about us. You want your world back, but you're not competent to interpret its meaning. You think you're spinning on a ball. So you should be denied acquisition of the universe about us until you wake up. Come on. The white area of the, this is blocked out here. I think photograph is the luminosity which covers all sky areas. The dark areas depict light shading developing from the gaseous movement which produces the light. Other factors may have influenced the shading as shown. If it had been a very powerful automatic lens photographing from that distance, magnification of the light surface would have occurred. Then the clear luminosity would be considered to exist only in the white patches, but that conclusion would be faulty. The light covers the entire area. From great distance, it would become magnificent. There was reference earlier to such light shadings being cloud formation. That term is acceptable if it means gas cloud formation. Otherwise, it becomes ridiculous. If the shading or the white patches were in fact atmospheric clouds, as observed from land surface, the surface of the earth could also be detected. Nowhere does it appear, and it could be made to appear only through the application of an appropriate photographic medium capable of penetrating light. There is such a light penetrating medium developed by modern research, but its application can always be detected because the object or area photographed through light becomes distorted. An illustration, green vegetation is reproduced white. As illustration, green vegetation is reproduced white. And the normal contour of objects becomes out of portion. Keep surfing the wave. We're almost done. And we're going to Get to some more, quick drop. Though the medium referred to, infrared or extrasensory film, has application to photography within distance limits, there is no record of its application to telescopic. If there existed, or if there is ever developed, a medium whereby telescopic lenses can penetrate the luminous celestial skylight, even astronomers will then be permitted to discern the factual universe about us. Even astronomers. Then will they observe the land underlying the luminous outer surface of celestial sky areas where astronomical conclusion has determined that the existence of land. Then will they detect the abundant water and vegetation denied by astronomical conclusions of the centuries, and that vegetation will give the lie to the astronomical assumption that celestial areas lack the oxygen content conducive to life. They're always like, we're going to look for life, we're going to look for oxygen. Well, you'll see the lie. You'll see that they've been staring at the ceiling the whole time, at more land, more water. So who's there that they're worshiping? Who's living in those lands, in those areas that they're worshiping? Now we're getting somewhere. Because if it's just land and water, that means that someone's living there when they say, I'm worshiping Mars, I'm worshiping Saturn. That means that in that direction, whatever that light is terrestrial land that we're calling the heavens, but they are still below the firmament. They are wandering stars, right? And even the fixed stars. So these are all areas. There's all order. There's places that you can go, there's places you can't go. No astronomer or his most powerful telescope lens has ever detected more than the luminous outer sky surface of any area of the universe about us. No telescopic camera ever produce or ever photograph other than the same sky surface area, which is made deceptively disc-like and isolated by the lens function described here. Therefore, strange as it may seem, photographs of luminous celestial areas with fullness or body are products of illusion. The tragedy of their display is expressed by the misconception they foster. The lens-formed disk area of celestial sky is the only thing photographed, but the disk area must develop the delusion that a full and isolated body exists. In view of Figure 4 showing that every terrestrial sky area would appear to be from the dark stratosphere and from land areas of the universe, Professor Picard's photographic development of the partial disk with incomplete luminosity was not generally considered as evidence of the illusion described. Effort was therefore intensified to have photographs of the Earth's luminous outer sky made from greater altitude, which would show a complete disk with luminosity. The requisite altitude was considered 14 miles, 4 miles beyond Picard's altitude. With that objective, a journey was made to the U.S. Army Air Corps base at Wright Field at Dayton, Ohio. Is this play? All these people play. All the money that's going into this, these people are dealing with the Army Air Corps at Wright Field. You gonna call me crazy? You crazy? Somebody told me to go back to college. And I'm like, damn. That's what fuck, All right, come on. Stay focused. We're almost there. There, Major Hoffman and Captain Albert W. Stevens were making elaborate preparations for a stratosphere ascent. And it was believed that they could be induced to achieve a 14-mile altitude where photographic confirmation of lens deceptions would be had. Captain Stevens then considered the leading aerial photographer who had numerous photographs of the business section of Dayton, Ohio, and at an altitude of 5 miles, photographs from that altitude, doubtless with a very powerful camera lens, showed the known concrete structure of the business district being merged together by lens function. Such merging confirmed that photographs at greater altitudes would cause the concrete structures deceptively to appear as rounded or globular. Although this part is blocked again. Hopefully we can get back to regular pages soon. Although the converging function of all lenses had long been established. The extraordinary photographs, this is asserted, I believe it's the extraordinary photographs asserted known principles and contributed additional knowledge. All right. That lens function can create innumerable illusions at terrestrial level, and the illusions would develop from observation of objects and conditions with which we are most familiar. Hence, it was not difficult to determine that there would be multiplication of the quantity and quality of lens-developed illusions in telescopic and photographic observations of remote luminous celestial areas which are entirely unknown. Area photography has likewise established the gross deceptions resulting from altitudinal photographs of familiar terrestrial terrain where rivers, seemingly drawn to the surface of the land, deprived of natural depth and width, lost their identifying characteristics as rivers and were made deceptively to appear as streaks on the land surface. Right quick, you see, even like with these pages here, there's effort, man, just to try to get any type of drop on this book. Like we said, it goes for 500 and up. You're trying to get it if you can find it. You know what I'm saying? And, this is just the effort that people are putting into doing this. So we're almost there. We're going to get a couple pages there. All right, so we're going to get back to the regular pages. So I'll finish a couple paragraphs and then we'll just get back and finish this up for part 10. Our last part. We're not going past part 10. I refuse. All right. So let's go. Where are we at? So this is chapter 5. So yeah, we'll just finish up chapter 5, and you know where the book is. You can keep going. I just wanted to really make a good bite out of this, and of course we're going to revisit it, other times. You know what I'm saying? So we got it in the library for you to download. Hurry up and do it. All right, where are we? Okay. So we'll finish up this last couple pages. All right. Through the courtesy of Major Hoffman and Captain Stevens, the Pilgrim of 1934 inspected the Stratosphere ascent equipment at Wright Field and prescribed the altitude required for photographic confirmation of his earlier claim. The minimum altitude considered necessary for 14 miles, 10 miles from land surface to sky, and 4 miles into the stratosphere darkness beyond the sky. Captain Stevens gave assurance he would make every effort to achieve the required altitude. His initial attempt failed when the balloon burst shortly after the ascent was underway. All right, so he tried again. These people trying for you. Soon thereafter, November 1935, the ascent attained 14-mile altitude over the Black Hills of South Dakota. There is little question that at that altitude were made confirmative photographs showing complete luminosity and disk appearance of the sky area over South Dakota. Looked like a luminous body. Just South Dakota. Unfortunately, the photographs of that ascent were not released when requested. Man, so they gobbled that up. There was no further important development bearing upon physical continuity until October 1946, when the U.S. Navy V-2 rocket achieved the unprecedented altitude of 65 miles, and its camera returned sensational photographs of an angle of the luminous globular and isolated sky area over the white sands of New Mexico. More recent rocket camera photographs from an altitude of 200 miles. In May 1954, they went up 200 miles, and that showed a luminous terrestrial sky area estimated at 300,000 miles wide. It too is deceptively globular and isolated. In comparing such rocket camera photographs made possible by the U.S. Naval Research Bureau, it is important to observe that the globular and isolated appearance is produced at every photographic distance from the outer sky surface. There are no variations of contour but there are variations of light shadings and light distortions, just like you see in the sky, which this work has properly stressed. With such conclusive photographic evidence of terrestrial skylight and the lens developed deceptions of the sky's contour, there was reason to believe that some acknowledgement of the pilgrims' claims would be forthcoming from the established scientific order. It was reasoned that such vivid expression of lens deceptions would enable the most skeptical to perceive that identical deceptions were experienced in all telescopic observation of luminous celestial areas. As a result of the sensational rocket camera proof of celestial and terrestrial skylight synonymity, and the apparent globalarity and isolation of sky areas, it seemed that almost anyone would realize that astronomy has dealt only with celestial skylight and illusionary features developed by the telescopic lenses. Wow. That astronomy has dealt only with celestial skylight and illusionary features developed by telescopic lenses. The illusions now prove to develop from telescopic observations of the celestial test that it was natural for Copernicus, Galileo, Newton, and others of their time to conclude that luminous celestial areas are globular and isolated bodies. It could be natural. He could be given a pass, but we have evidence to understand that this shit was on purpose. They closed your eyes on purpose. They lied to you on purpose. So it wasn't only natural. It was only natural for them to know that it's an easy trick and that you would naturally think so. But it wasn't unnatural to these secret people of secret orders with secret knowledge. They know. The illustrious gentleman, right? Right. Lacked modern mechanical devices for proving otherwise, right? Such being the case, it was necessary to prescribe mathematical space orbits for seeming movement of such illusion-born entities comprising the universe. So he's trying to give him a pass because he doesn't want to get yelled at by somebody. Or he probably believes in these guys. But we know better. But he knows, too, that they are pumping illusion. So he's, this is kind of some trickery right here. But sometimes they do that. Thereafter, the concept of body and bodies became so fixed that it was impossible to return to the 1953 starting point for investigation of the premise. Though numerous, I don't know what that is saying, it's blocked out. Though numerous something question the premise, there could be no constructive investigation, the absence of more recent mechanical equipment. It is only, we'll do our dismount right here from this, it is only through timely development of such equipment that proof has been had of the concept's development from the illusionary. I'm trying to get this word right here. I think it says apropos, something like that. It's kind of blurry. Of that mechanical equipment, the early years of pilgrimage led to the cell-like laboratory of Dr. Robert Goddard, pioneer extraordinary in rocket construction. When in 1926 the pilgrim visited him at Clark University in Worcester, Massachusetts, he desired the rocket's perfection so less ardently than Dr. Goddard did. At that time, 28-year-old, he did not dream that he would live to witness the rocket's spectacular performance, which had developed confirmation of his dream. All right, so, I kind of want to get a little bit more. Let me get a little bit more. Yet, with all the modern mechanics which surpassed the mechanics draped in the corridors of time, it took 20 years to utilize the rocket for proof of most sensational disclosures, and it is significant that such a powerful mechanical instrument for proof was first used to destroy. All right, it might not have been utilized for profound scientific purpose, but for the fact that the military had become seriously interested in rocket development to meet the challenge of the worst war in history, World War II. In the proof such established for the works principal features exist a parallel to the outlook of 1493. What happened in 1493? When a new world of land and water and life, which archaic theory has deemed was discovered. Archaic theory has deemed was discovered. In the proof now established for this work's principal features exists a parallel. They've been drawing parallel to Columbus the whole time, right? The modern Columbus. Finding you here, the copper color races, according to the 1828 Webster Dictionary. Click the link below. To the outlook of 1493, when they found copper colored people here, according to the Webster Dictionary of 1828. The definition of America is the copper color races found here. When a new world of land and water and life, which archaic theory had deemed was discovered. Hold on, let me clip my battery in right quick, so I can get a little bit more out of this classroom discussion. All right. My bad. There he is. Okay. Boom. Boom. Oops. My beezy. Ah, I gotta reload it. Almost there. So you see how they're now bringing it back to, the pilgrims, right? Now they're bringing it back to finding you in the new world, the pilgrims finding you in the new world. They're comparing them to pilgrims looking for new worlds. How many times do these people got to tell you? They just found you here in a new world. And you can't get away from that comparison because it's just so thorough. When they say that your languages were so much different from anywhere else, and they write all of their inquiries into who you are, but still can't, only have assumptions. And they say in their textbooks, they say the two greatest questions that they've ever had in academia are, where did the tribes go? And where did the so-called American Indian come from? Where did he migrate from? Those are the two greatest questions. Where did you come from? And where did the tribes go? And we say those are just one question in the same. If you're looking in the right place, it's one question in the same. All right, I think this is it. Let's get it bigger. One more. Okay. Let's finish out this paragraph. A couple paragraphs. So in the proof now established, for this work principle features existed a parallel to the outlook of 1493. Okay. Make sure you can see this all right. All right. Hopefully you can see a little bit. Parallel to the outlook of 1493, when a new world of land and water and life, which archaic theory had denied was discovered, or had deemed was discovered. This land's existence had been deemed as a result of an illusionary condition accepted as real, the sky meeting the water. So they said, hey, this is a new world. To overcome the flat earth concept developed from that illusion, it was utmost important for science to make plausible the existence of this new world. Hence, then, there was advanced in 1543 a forceful case to sustain the timely, though erroneous, concept of isolated celestial areas making up the so-called planetary system, and simultaneously explaining the new world's existence it was most acceptable. You see how all this stuff fit in as they're molding people's minds into the illusion, the matrix. At that time, it was of primary importance to establish convincingly that the Earth's area previously conceived to embrace only the old world was in fact twice as large, and to give assurance that one would not fall off the edge, it had to be shown how journeys could be accomplished. So first of all, let's get that back. At that time, it was of primary importance to establish convincingly that the Earth's area previously conceived to embrace only the old world was in fact twice as large, and to give assurance that one would not fall off the edge, it had to be shown how journeys could be accomplished. So that whole thing then was about, they understood that they weren't spinning on a ball. And then they found more land to prove that they wouldn't fall off the edge. And that was the whole point. And now this person's talking about going further, and people saying, you crazy because you're spinning on a ball. You might fall off into something, something, something. It's the same. That's the parallel he's trying to bring. On one side to the other side of what was considered a globe Earth. The feature stressed was that of the eastern and western water extensions then recently discovered to connect the old world with the new. All right. So now you got the Atlantic connecting the old world with the new. The width had to be known regardless of what the length might be. Progress was east to west rather than north to south. They never went north to south, always east to west. On the ball, what does it matter, right? All right. If there existed northern and southern extensions, it was unimportant to that time. If there existed northern and southern extensions, it was unimportant to that time. What does it matter, right? And again, they're telling you you're on a ball spinning from west to east. And yet plane flights going west or going east take the same amount of time, but yet the Earth is spinning eastward. 1,100 miles per hour is going west to east, but a flight from LA to New York and New York to LA take the same time going in both directions? Does that make sense to you? That if the Earth is spinning east and you want to fly west, and the Earth is spinning east at 1,100 miles per hour, and you want to go against the spin of the Earth and go west, and your plane is going at 400 miles per hour, that you would get back to LA at the same time that you would get from LA to New York going with the Earth? Now the Earth is spinning 1,100 miles per hour, and you're adding to that speed, right? Because you're going 500 on top of that, right? So wouldn't you get to New York way faster than you would going back from New York to LA, going against the spin of the Earth? Oh no, it's just atmosphere. It's just atmospheric bullshit. It's just the force, the capital F, the force. It's all about astro bubbles. So we're on page 38. And when we get back, man, part 10, we're going to conclude chapter 5. And, you know what I'm saying? We're going to just keep vibrating, man. And, you know what I'm saying? We got the library popping. So we got so much that's getting added in there now, man. Thanks to so many brothers, sisters sending in so much drop in there. Speaking of these illusionary global or astro bodies, let's get back to these cats. I always like picking them apart. You know, it's just, you know, part of this, you know, knowing what's up, having the drop. But they believe they're on a ball. They believe everything's a ball and ball. So these are people that fully believe the Copernican model. I'm not going to make fun of them because they do have a lot of drop, because they are really digging in and they do know there's something wrong. And I think one day they're just going to get it. But right now, they still think they're spinning on a ball 1,100 miles per hour. But this is interesting, nonetheless. They're observing, you know, photographs or video from what they're saying is the space station, giving them some video feeds, right? So a lot of shit, man, it's just, yeah, you know. But they're saying that there's an artificial sun. Let's check it out. And yeah, shout out to Steve Olsen, man, WSO. You know what I'm saying? It's all love, but you're not spinning on the ball. You're not on the ball. You're not on the ball.
Has been helping us.
Keep vibing. We're almost there.
Hello, Wayne. How are you doing, Steve? I'm doing really well. So just to give a little bit of background for the audience, we have been spending a lot of time thinking and looking at the sun and looking and thinking about why certain phenomena are being seen from the sky and from the ground and from cameras and from other devices that are observing the sun. We think that we may have linked together some things that are very interesting for everyone's consideration. Stay tuned to all the way to the end, because we will also have probably what we think is some of the most earth-shattering news on the Nibiru subject maybe ever. I know that sounds arrogant, but I didn't mean it that way. Wayne, what's going on?
Well, Steve, you and I and others in the community have for the longest time, years in my case, have been trying to figure out what is going on here. You and I have speculated on many programs together. The audience knows that we feel that there is an artificial sun in our skies. Now, we've gotten ridiculed on that. We've also have said that we also believe that there is a shield. Well, Steve, we now have hard scientific evidence that now proves this. And Steve, I think the challenge needs to be put out to the international community, because this affects all mankind. We know that the technology now exists. We also know that we've caught them, and we've got them. If this was in a court of law, this is a done case. I challenge NASA or the ESA, the Russians, the Chinese, to come forward and please explain to us, why is there a necessity for an artificial sun and for a shield? And Steve, I'm going to show you some of the visuals, but you...
So we're about to see some visuals. But just check it. So I like these guys because they're not just buying NASA's bullshit. They know that they're giving them... They feel like they're really, getting the babies out. But they still have, major inception hijacks because they believe in these isolated celestial global or astro bubbles. So we're living in two different dimensions, right? I'm fixed, firm, and immovable. I know that I can go straight and run into the celestial. And I know they won't let me, so I know I'm invaded. So I'm awake to the fact that I'm invaded and trapped in the middle earth, quote unquote, right? I'm like a little sheep or whatever the case is, being, kept into the ranch by ranchers protecting the Antarctic barrier, right? So you look up the Antarctic Treaty. There's about 50-some countries that have never broken this treaty, and they protect the entire barrier. So if you try to get to any of the outer ice, you have somebody from some country telling you to turn your boat around unless you were invited. Let's get a little bit more. We're going to see a couple of images and we'll go to something else right quick.
You have got the scientific paper that now I believe shows what we are seeing. The question is why. So Steve, as we saw yesterday, this is probably one we know is the shield now. We know that this is most likely an artificial sun. They do change the two up. So let me just show this. And by the way, Steve, we're going to explain to the audience why you're seeing hexagon lens flares. Because we're going to show you that it's impossible for the camera off the International Space Station to be producing a hexagonal lens flare.
Exactly.
Okay. So Steve, as you see here, we took this out and we just inverted the light. And so what you're getting here now, if there wasn't a substance here, you wouldn't see this. So we know this is an artificial structure.
Wow.
What we don't know is what is in the center. Is this, and what you're going to show is technology, by the way, people are going to learn today, is very old technology in one aspect, very new technology in another. Well, what is this?
So if it's very old, and just like we're kicking in the world beyond the poles, and he's saying, man, if they had V2 rockets back there in Babylon, I'm like, they can make artificial bodies or illuminate, objects. I mean, look at these patterns. These people study the sun. They study the sun. They still don't, have a perspective on it. But, as far as what it really, they think it's huge. Anyway. But they study, certain aspects of it. And they can tell, based on these lens flares that there's no way we should be getting hexagonal lens flares all over the place. This must be an artificial object. So are we saying that we're dealing with an artificial sun right now? This is, I'm putting this out there for Drop Nation. They said they switch them up. I mean, do they? What are we really looking at, man? What's really going on? Based on the knowledge, I didn't do all that reading for nothing. So based on all that reading, what are we really looking at? Leave a comment.
So let's continue. So as we can see, in different lights and different filters, our artificial device remains constant. Our hexagonal lens flares, look at them, Steve. It's not just one, sir.
See that?
It's multiple.
Multiple.
And the thing about it is you're getting hexagonal lens flares inside the lens flares of the lens flare. That can't happen. But, and unless, and you and I now know, and the world's about to know, what it is they have been showing us. So let's continue. Here, we also see, and we will be explaining as well, this is an actual plasma reaction. We now know from several sources, scientific sources, that what we're actually seeing here is the result of a discharge between two objects in the background, planet or stars. It could be the sun or the fake sun or any other object of a celestial nature interacting. And this is what we're seeing. That is clearly a plasma reaction. I challenge anyone to come up with another plausible explanation, Steve. It's just, we now know, we've got them.
Yeah, and again, we're open to, enhanced knowledge or maybe uncovering something, and again, what we want is, maybe this is the time that everybody, that the governments of the world come clean and tell us what's going on, and that's what we're hoping for.
Now, Steve, this is why this camera cannot produce a hexagonal lens flare. There's the camera right there, folks. You can see it. It's being in the reflection from the Lexan from whatever this device is. Maybe the real sun on this one, it's hard to say. They play, but I don't think so, Steve. I think this is our fake sun, because here, folks, is the signature. We now know how we can identify when they're showing us this artificial sun. Steve, hexagon? I have one other quick little video for everyone here, and it's this one right here. We also now know that the flickering lights that we have seen, that some have speculated could be the camera, could be a malfunction. Folks, this is more evidence. And again, ladies and gentlemen, anytime you see this hexagonal flare right here, this is the artificial sun. Only an artificial sun, because this is not looking at the sun, Steve. This is actually taking a picture off the reflection of the ISS. So it's merely taking a picture from what's being shown. This, friends, is a pulsating fake sun. By the way, the patents are out there. The patents were issued to Bosch and Lomb. We know this, and Steve, you're going to be having the science here. So once again, my friend, we now have caught them. And here you go, folks. Anytime you see this, and by the way, if you're catching this on the ground, now you know why. So, Steve, I'm going to turn this over to you, my friend, and allow you now to, and I think I'm doing this right, so.
So y'all can check that out, man. Just want to get some of that drop and, keep you guessing, man. We got to keep guessing. We got to keep. This is great drop from Arthur Scott, man. He's right on point with it, man. He's right on time. We're getting back into the manipulation of numbers and this grid and how they really got things, how they really got us. So y'all check that out, man. Keep up, keep up, keep up. Tech drop for the techies. Secret drop. You want to know how the U.S. hands over internet control before election? Dig on it. Science drop. You want to know how liquid mercury and the Nephilim connection? Dig on it. Huh? Weather drop. You want to know about living fibers falling from the sky in Germany? Well, damn, that sounds real damn interesting. Let's just dig on it right now. Let go. We're just talking about the trees. Love the geo shifter, man, setting it off. Now, what are these fibers? Look like they're electric, magnetic,
Today I want to raise attention
nano.
to the chemtrail fibers. Maybe you have noticed that there are some videos out there, some are a couple years old, and we face really a threat, I think, with these chemtrail fibers, and not many people noticed them. And now we got footage from Germany where they were just everywhere, and this stuff is alarming and crazy, and we don't know what this makes with our bodies, and it's everywhere some days. And I want to raise attention to this topic, that you have open eyes and stay inside when you see that this debris is out there and in the air, that you won't breathe too much in. And this is really crazy. There's the stuff is falling from the sky, and here's some footage from Auto Collision Man, and you can see this is falling from the sky. And when you look for chemtrail debris, you find a lot more. There seems to be everywhere, and they maybe changed the shape and the compound of this stuff, and maybe it's intelligent and it's attracted to certain things more, and so this type gets out and in our bodies and causing maybe Morgellon diseases. And here's a footage from Becky Lewis from 6 months ago, and there's a chemtrail fallout in Indiana.
Look at all the crap blowing in the air that you can't see. This is up against a tree with the sun in the background. Holy crap.
It ain't snowing.
Look at that.
It ain't snowing. It ain't snowing.
It is not raining. It is sunny. Well, it's mostly sunny. It's been really cloudy earlier, but the sun's cleared up.
Perfect doggone day. Oh, beautiful day. It's a beautiful day outside.
It's just regular. Oh my gosh.
Let's go to the park. Let's take a walk with our kids right now. It's a beautiful day. Let's take a walk.
Look at all that crap. I was trying to get a picture of this right here. I thought it looked so cool. And then I started seeing all that.
Oh, man.
Stuff. What the heck?
What's that? There are all these fibers on the trees. You thought we forgot about the trees because I've been reading for an hour? All these fibers are falling on the trees. You can't see them in broad daylight. You're taking a walk with your child. You say, oh, it's a beautiful day. I want to go to the beach. And here's your reality. Wake up. Suit up.
Holy crap. Too bad I don't have something to catch that stuff. But I'll tell you what, man, that is a lot of crap coming out. I don't know. Here you go. It's not cold enough to snow. It's definitely warmer than that. There's no snow. There's no rain. There's just chemical poison fallout. And by the way, it is February 1st, 2015. Or 2016, sorry.
Alright, this is recent. This is recent.
Probably about 3 something in the afternoon. I don't know. I'll include a snapshot that I was taking that other picture of how I found this in the first place. So, okay, that's it. Bye for now.
Man, this is totally crazy. And now we look at the footage I got from Germany, and I had a conversation with some friends, and sorry because the audio is not very good, but I think it's important to share anyway. So here's the footage. Guys, I have a very interesting video here today, and this is shocking and amazing at the same time, and connected to the chemtrails. And I hope you can see this in the stream here. By the way, this footage is taken in Germany early this year in spring, and we see here some grass, and there are some white fibers.
Look, they're intelligent, man.
The grass.
Dropping from the sky.
And soon the camera's zooming in, so you can see better what's going on here. Have you any idea what this is?
World's beyond a pole.
Yes, for me, it looks not natural, and it looks like it have a swarm intelligence. That when it moves, all parts move with it together. So looks for me.
I have to look at full screen, and when it's zoomed closely, you can see how the fibers are moving like a swarm, and they are somehow moving to the light of the sun and to the finger here. You can see all these fibers are moving.
Man, they dropping live shit, yo.
And the person who has recorded this footage, we have talked to her, and she explained that these must have fallen from the sky, from the chemtrails or something. And they are not natural, and they are moving and all over the grass, but not every time. And you see in the background everywhere this stuff is moving.
Yes, and this person also said that
Look at this shit, man.
that these stripes are not on all plants. There are plants where the stripes love to go on, and other plants where they don't want to hang on.
Okay, there's plants that they want to go on. How did I get back to the trees? Let's go. Vibration, vibration, vibration. So these are attracted to a certain frequency. You're going to hear him talk about that these are, frequency oriented. He's going to say that in the United States, it's like at a massive level increased over what's happening in Germany. This is just Germany. They said it's all over the United States. It's all over Cali. It's all over New York. It's all over us already. No one's talking about it. These alive entities falling and clinging to certain vibration. So which ones are they attracted to? The artificial plants or the real plants? The natural ones or the artificial ones? Natural light or artificial light? Let's go.
And she also told us that they seem to like LED light. So they are attracted to LED light and microfibers and clothing of unnatural types.
No, stop. And clothing of unnatural types. So we can conclude that these motherfuckers falling from the sky on our children, on our vegetation, are only attracted to artificial energy, LED, unnatural clothing, unnatural people, unnatural elements. That's why we got to really get our diet right. We got to vibrate. Clearly, we're talking frequency, right? Are we not just talking about energy, frequency, vibration? Are we in an energy war? Is this a frequency war? Are you going to win that war? Are you going to vibrate? Are you going to choose up? Because certain things seems to be attracted to certain vibrations. Antimatter. CERN builds antimatter. When you're angry and out of tune, you build antimatter. When antimatter is released, it attracts to other antimatter quickly. And if you are in antimatter frequency, you will be destroyed by the wave of antimatter coming your way.
That's really crazy. Andreas, what do you think? Have you seen something like this?
Yes, of course. Several years ago, in winter time, here in our environment, while it was snowing, I sprayed a lot of chemtrails, and next day, on every bushes or trees, plants, flowers, there were everywhere.
Same stuff.
But same stuff. But it was a one-time phenomenon, just one time, and it's 6 years ago or 7.
Wow.
Now, and but they observed a lot of fibers in the world, especially in the USA. There were a lot of them. Much more than you can see here. Much more.
Do I need to repeat that? Especially in the USA, there were much more. 6 years ago?
6 years ago or 7 now. And but they observed a lot of fibers in the world, especially in the USA. There were a lot of them. Much more than you can see here.
Wow.
Much more. More dense.
More dense.
And the whole amount was much more. And looks pretty strange. Looks pretty strange always. And there are several people out there who claim they know what it is, but to this day I have no clue at all.
Nobody has a clue, man. No one's talking about this?
For what it is or for what purpose it is.
Nobody has a clue.
I don't know.
Nobody knows.
What she told us is that it's maybe harmful for people, and that is these little fibers maybe go into our bodies somehow and block our brains. so we can't think clearly, or it plays into all the other stuff, the towers of the mobile phone, wireless internet and everything. So all these frequencies and aluminium, all these metals.
Frequencies, you heard it. Are you in a vibration war? Are you in a frequency war? He's bringing in cell phone towers. Look, they got you surrounded. Your cities, they're dropping this shit on you while they're beaming cell phone towers and microwaves all through you, putting you in 440, tuning all your music and records and everything on the radio to one frequency that causes static and distortion and anxiety, disease, dis-ease caused by the frequency of your songs. Your music is hijacked. Look at what they're dropping now. Live shit. Frequency. One more time.
Wireless internet and everything. So all these frequencies and aluminium, all these metals and food and waters all play together, and these fibers seem to like these environments, and maybe this is some kind of weapon for I don't know. I don't want to fear anybody, but we should look out for these fibers and investigate and see what they are all about.
That's word up. Word up.
Are they related to?
You know, got more drop to check out. I just want to, again, kings to Dr. CB, man, kings to Francisco, man, who's dropping solid health drop, man, bringing that to the forefront. My man, Alan Davis said that we have a great, Dr. CB has a great store set up out here in Los Angeles that I look forward to hitting up very shortly. So, hey, let's keep it going, man. Always got something for the children. Always got some type of something. Snoop Dogg, man, you know, Snoop being Snoop. Let's get the previous. Let's see what we have hiding back here. I always click previous because a lot of times I might drop 20 different drops a day. And there's always something lurking in previous for you. Just if you want to drop. And don't forget, man, love to Catrice Green, who always got the drop all day, every day. Getting those shirts out tomorrow, which is Friday. So love to everybody. Love to everybody. Very exciting, man, to keep it going, man. So love to everybody for their support and energy. Oh, yeah, love the Geo Shifter. We dropped this yesterday. I wanted to get something down here a little bit. Oh, yeah, I just wanted to get a little tad bit of the survival drop to mix it up for you. And then we'll do our dismount. We're talking in the wilderness here. So now we got to talk vibration, survival.
Afternoon, folks. I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters and the Pathfinder School. And today in our Materia Medica series, we're going to discuss the pain-relieving properties of the willow bark. There are several species of willow in the United States. White willow is the most commonly used as a pain reliever. But black willow, sometimes also called swamp willow, will work the same way. And here in southeast Ohio, especially around areas where there's a lot of water, because it's a water indicator type plant, black willow grows very prevalently. So we're going to make a decoction from this bark today as a pain-relieving herbal tea that we can drink to help, number one, lower our body's core temperature by cooling us down because it will thin our blood slightly, which creates a cooling effect. And it will also relieve pain. So if we had a headache or we had some type of a sore throat or something like that, drinking several cups of the tea made from a decoction of this bark will help to relieve that pain. You can also just break a branch off or a twig off and chew on the bark and mix it with saliva and swallow that as well. But it's much more effective to make a decoction of the bark if you're trying to knock out pain fairly quickly. Stay with me. I'll show you what this tree looks like, and we'll harvest some bark. Okay, so here is a close-up of the tree itself next to a maple tree. And you can see the difference between the maple leaves, the broad maple leaves, and the very thin lance-like leaves of the willow. I'm going to also zoom in on the bark from here for you and show you what that looks like. And it's got some cracks and crevices and furrows in the bark as it grows. And this is not a very big tree because this tree is only probably 8 inches in diameter. So
now you know what a tree is. So all we're doing is combing through the moss, right? The brush. All right. Your trees are still there. They've never been uprooted. They've just been cut off. And these are still, you know, the remnant of the root that's still there. So your tree's still alive through this remnant. All right, so we're just talking trees here.
This is not a giant willow by any means, but it will definitely work for what we want. And we've got another one closer to the bank right here that we're actually going to cut some bark off of now. So to make this real simple, all we have to do is come in here to this tree and shave down through the bark. And if we get a little bit of inner bark, that's okay too.
Okay, okay.
But I'm just thin slicing.
That's amazing, man. So much nurture.
Of that bark.
So much nurture. Okay, we're going to chef it up, you know what I'm saying? This could be a cold tea. Man, imagine if we master this again. Just imagine yourself being independent. Real science. Real solutions. No more side effects.
So at this point we have taken the bark we collected, we shaved it down into smaller shavings, broken it up, cut it up, whatever it takes to get that down to smaller amounts to increase the surface area. And then we have put it into our bush pot, and I've added about 3 Kupilka cups of water, which boils down to about 1/3 of a bush pot. I'm going to boil that down a little bit. And then I'm going to add a little bit more liquid and boil it down again to the point where I've got about 1 Kupilka cup, or maybe 1.5 of liquid. Then I'm going to strain that into my cup, and that will be what I drink as my painkiller.
Okay. You hear it? Take notes. That dog looks peaceful as a mofo.
Okay. You got that thing boiled down pretty far right now.
Okay,
First time around. So we're going to go ahead and add about another full Kupilka cup of water to that. And just let it cook down one more time. And when you're done with this decoction, it should turn that water a reddish purple pink type color. You should be able to see that in the liquid if you've got a good decoction of the bark. So we're going to pull this thing off the fire now and let it cool down. Now, generally speaking, two of these brown bottles are in my bush pot a lot of the time. And one of them is generally filled with some type of cooking oil, generally vegetable oil or olive oil. The other one is usually filled with honey. Honey is a medicine all by itself. It's an immune system booster. It's great for cough and cold. But you can take 1 teaspoon of this honey every day that you're out in a hunting camp or whatever, in cold weather especially, and it will do your body really, really well. But you can also add it to things that might be slightly bad tasting. And I can either strain this off or I can pour it carefully. And you can see the color of liquid is coming out of that is a very reddish purple color. All right? And I'm going to let that cool down so that I can drink it comfortably. But I'm going to add just a little bit of honey to that as well for flavor.
Dig on it.
Just a couple things for you to think about with this willow bark tea that you're making as a pain reliever to help stave off a cold or to help, relieve you of some of the symptoms of that cold, especially if you added honey to the mix like I did. You've got a painkiller and immune system booster all in one, something to help stave off cough and cold. What you can do is drink this warm cup before bed, turn in, leave your bush pot off to the side like you would a coffee pot, and the next morning you can add a little water to it if you want to, or just warm it back up and drink the remainder of it before you start your day. The one thing you have to remember about herbal teas and things like that is it's not like a pill. Take 2 aspirin and call me in the morning type of thing. What it boils down to is drinking that liquid until the symptoms start to be relieved. It's not going to be a case of you can drink 1 cup and you're good to go. You want to drink that pot that you made, probably followed up with another pot the next day, another pot the next day, until those symptoms are completely gone. Folks, I'm Dave Canterbury with Self-Reliance Outfitters in the Pathfinder School. I appreciate you joining me out here for another segment in our Materia Medica series today.
Yay.
I appreciate your views. I appreciate your support. I thank you for everything you do.
Subscribe, man. Dave Canterbury, Wilderness Outfitters. You already know what time it is. We're making our dismount right now. Probably got about like 4 more minutes. So I don't know, man. Can we do it? Can we do a tremendous, you know what I'm saying, Simone Hernandez dismount off the beam into the library? Can we do a 3-minute dismount? Abizaid style. Get in our frequency style. Man, love to everybody enjoying the library, man. And we're going to keep building it. Keep enjoying, man, the beautiful music. We're going to give you some more music options so you can switch playlists if you want to and different things. All right, man, I'm talking. Let me get to it. Let's make a 2-minute dismount here. Abizaid. Enlightenment of the World by John Abizaid. I always love going back to this as a resource. It's a great component to this series, and we'll get more into it in our last part, which is part 10, coming up soon. So we did a couple of these already. Let's make it a little bigger. All right. Okay. All right, we got some of this last time. Remember, they said the umbrella. Okay, I want to get this last part here. Okay. Dismount. The geography says that the earth is turning, but no one has ever seen it turn or felt it, but they can see the earth flat and stationary. The geography also says that the sun is stationary, but no one has ever seen it stand on anything at all. There is no use believing such foolish talk As we read in the geography has no good proofs, but only guesswork, which amounts to nothing at all. There is no sense believing professors because they made a mistake by telling the people that the earth is round and in motion and the sun stationary. We do not blame them for this mistake because everyone makes mistakes. This book is called The Enlightenment of the World because it will wake everyone up and correct this mistake. The sun does not rise from a low place as it appears to do. Examine your own shadow or any shadow in the morning and again in the afternoon, and you will find that the sun always is higher than you, just as the sky is above you. The earth and sky do not meet as they seem to do. It is always the distance that make it appear so. Anything at a distance from you seems low, anything near seems high. This is a proof that the earth and sky do not meet. If you stand in a field on a foggy day, you will see that near at hand the fog is higher than you are, but a little further off it looks low and touches the ground. No matter where you stand, the fog appears in the same way, and the earth and sky do not seem to meet, and that is just like the fog around you. Examine it and you will find that what I say is correct. I started from Boston in a steamer going to New York City. As I neared the city, I happened to see two bridges ahead of me. Just as I was passing under the first bridge, I found that it was very high. Then I looked at the other bridge and found that it looked very low, almost touching the water. But then we reached the second bridge and I found it as high as the other bridge. And so I looked back at the first bridge we passed under and I found that it looked very low, almost touching the water. Then I knew that both of the bridges were high, but that it was the distance that made them seem low. It is the same if you go on land. For instance, suppose there is a long, clear road with telegraph poles the same distance from each other. You look at the one nearest you and you will find it high, but the next one looks lower and next one still lower. And so they seem to be growing shorter and shorter until you cannot see them at all. But it is not true that the poles are lower as they look. It is only the distance that makes them seem so, just like masts of the ship on the water. This may only apply to the sky. The sun is the same way. When the sun is rising and setting, it looks as though it were very low. It is not low, but high always, and it is the distance that makes it seem low. When the sun is over our heads, it looks very high because it is near us. The sun, being of a limited capacity, can throw its rays only on a certain portion of the earth at one time. It is similar to an umbrella with the limited capacity to cover a certain number of persons. Of course, you can make an umbrella to cover hundreds of people if needed, but the sun remains a certain size always and can neither be made large or small, for it is the work of God, whereas the umbrella is the work of human beings. The earth has been and always will be flat, and there are several proofs, and those proofs I claim. You will find in this chapter that I have given some proofs about the sun. Pay attention to every word you read in this book. You must not believe anyone who says the earth is round, for you are not crazy. You are not crazy. Someone just called me crazy today. You are not crazy, nor a child. Do not believe without a correct proof. Children may believe stories, but now that you are old enough, wake up. You cannot make water nor anything else stay on a round ball. It is the same way with the earth. You cannot make the ocean stay on the round earth without falling off. No matter what people may tell you, there is more water than dry land on the earth, and the water being liquid cannot be anything else, as I proved in chapter 1. Do not let anybody fool you by telling you that the earth is round. As long as there is no proof that the earth is round, you must believe that it is flat and stationary. If you have a good mind, why don't you try to get the best knowledge and follow it? If you are smart, why don't you wake up and have the best for yourself? If I were you, I would not allow anyone to fool me. Don't be afraid to change your mind when you find that you have been mistaken by following the wrong way. If you wish to know whether the earth is flat or round, read this work carefully, and you will find proofs that the earth is flat and nothing else. If you wish to buy